Sports cars and off-roaders used to be very different things. But then they said, well, you can have them both together and introduce something like, I don't know, the Volkswagen T-Roc R or the Cupra Ateca. But who cares? You could have one of those, or you could have a Ford Ranger Raptor or a Bowler Bulldog. So this is the Ranger Raptor, the Ranger Danger, as my friends, Danger Ranger, as my friends at Goon Squad would call it. This is a modified, heavily modified Ranger, which is not that much like other Rangers you buy in the UK. They are commercial vehicles. Now, the difference is to the Raptor, which was developed in Australia with scant regard for the UK's VAT and commercial vehicle regulations, is the entirety of the back end of the chassis in this car has been redesigned. So no longer can it tow 3.5 tons and no longer does it take 1,000 kilos. But what it can do, thanks to coil springs, Fox Motorsport dampers, a completely reinforced back end, a completely reinforced front end on the chassis, is go over off-road like you wouldn't imagine. And in a sense, not like you find very often in the UK. We're in Wales. It's sunnier than you would expect for Wales in late October. And this is a green lane slash byway slash unclassified road, and it's really narrow. It's really tight. There are rocks either side. I'm getting these, I will polish it out, I promise you. I'm getting some scrapes from like the heather and the bracken down the side. But this car has terrific articulation. It's got too high, which you stay in on the road and which you'll get high 20s to the gallon. It's got four-wheel drive high and it's got four-wheel drive low, which I've slipped it into now, and you can also lock the rear differential to give extra traction. And for a car with a long wheelbase and a lot of width, that much width appropriately, it does do exceptional things off-road. It has climbed up some really slippery, rocky, tight terrain to get up to this slightly flatter plateau that I'm driving over remarkably slowly now. So this is the right car, and it is really impressive. But when I went on the launch of this car, the engineers said, look, you know, off-road it gets better the faster you go, really. So it's the right car in the wrong country. However, don't let that detract from how impressive it is and actually how much fun it is. I've been running this car for a few weeks and I'm really, really enjoying it. Problems? It's got a 2-litre diesel engine rather than something appropriately F-150 Raptor-ish. People say, well, maybe it should have the V6 EcoBoost turned up to 11T. And I can see the argument behind that. But this is already an expensive car. It's 50 grand. You're no longer getting the VAT back on it to fit an expensive engine rather than a 2-litre turbo diesel, twin turbo, 200 horsepower. I mean, it's fast enough on the road, but I'll grant you, if you can hear the noises that are not the bodywork, which will need polishing later, that noise is a diesel engine. But I can forgive this car for that because of how much fun it is when you do find a bit of off-road that you can use it on. It is really impressively capable. It has a terrific, terrific chassis. So this is a bit more like it. This is where the Raptor Unleashed, as they like to say, makes more sense. It does get better as you go faster. Those Fox dampers, those Fox Motorsport dampers are designed to pummel rough terrain into submission. So this is a bit rough under tyre, and I'm feeling very little on the inside. The steering is sort of lightish, bit better than vague. It's good, it's engaging, it's sort of, you can tell what's going on under the wheels, where the slip starts and stops. And you know, for a big, tall vehicle, it is good fun on the loose. It just is. You can sort of feel things moving around a little, all at sensible speeds. So it's cool, and you can find places, you can do quarry days and off-road days, you know, relatively cheaply. I think for like 20, 30 quid. And then you would have a really nice time driving a car quickly, annoying nobody, at no huge risk. It's really cool. It's really cool. Now this and the Bowler do slightly different things. The Bowler is not a car lined up to do the real low speed knobbly stuff. That's kind of not what it's about. You know, it's not about huge amounts of low speed axle articulation. It's a rally car. it's a race car. It's also over 150 grand on somebody else's, so I don't think slinging it down a really tight lane where we could damage the bottom of it with a boulder is necessarily the greatest idea. But on roads like this, well, I suspect it will be superb. Welcome then to the Bowler Bulldog, which, as you may hear, has a V8 engine. It's a V8 from the Range Rover Sport SVR, and there are Land Rover themes to this car, although don't be fooled by the Defender exterior. This is a Defendery door. I'm pretty sure it's an original door, but everything else, all of the other panels, are carbon fibre fakes, and they sit over Bowler's own aluminium chassis. To that are bolted Range Rover Sport front and rear subframes, and it runs the drivetrain from a Range Rover Sport. So we've got the supercharged V8 making 567 horsepower. But it's Bowler's own coil sprung suspension with terrific Bilstein dampers and not much else inside, because don't forget, this is a rally race off-road rally car. Cross-country rally car. So with the diesel engine that most competitors put in it, and a 220 odd litre fuel tank behind me, which is ridiculously big, this car has got a range of something like 1,000 miles on cross-country rallies. What it doesn't necessarily have is the full gamut of ground clearance and axle articulation for, you know, massive rock crawling that the Ranger has. This car is designed to pummel rough tracks like the one we're on at speed, faster speeds than I would be able to get to on the one we're on. So what's it like? Well, it's loud. I mean, even on the road, these windows rattle at 60 miles an hour, so you can imagine what they're doing off-road. There's no trim or soundproofing in here. The exhaust exits right below my left thigh, so that's really loud, and doesn't it make a fabulous noise? The suspension's pretty firm, but the faster you go, the better it gets. And the steering's light, because the idea is you don't want anything too heavy if you're sitting in a car off-road for hours after hour after hour, driving as fast as you can. So it's not always easy to gauge how much grip there is front and rear, but there is plenty. Body control is amazingly tight for this big, tall, high car, and it just feels like it would demolish stages like this time after time. Now, you can fit the V8, I think, just because Bowler's customers said, wouldn't it be cool? I think the real competitors probably go with the diesel, which gives it the massive range. I can't imagine, even with a 220 litre tank, that with this V8 on full song, it's got that bigger range. But it is an amazing piece of kit and so much fun. But what I'd really be interested to do is try it on something like a flat rally stage, where there aren't quite so many trees either side, and where I won't come across some itinerant wildlife around the next corner. Fortunately, I'm in North Wales, and such a place exists. Now, this is not Ranger Raptor territory, but what happens should you find yourself in the vicinity of, say, Anglesey Racetrack? Right, so there's quite a lot of body movement if you push it in the dry on tarmac. What a noise! Oh, sorry, that just makes a ridiculous amount of noise. But also, on a circuit, you start to realise how much the windows rattle. I mean, this would be on something like a rally. I don't suppose you do 100 miles an hour very often, but if you do, yeah. So it's still got a limited slip. Oh, that's better. It's got a limited slip diff at the back that you can tighten through a number of stages. Give it a bit more lock, should help turn it. There's quite a lot of weight at the front, you would suspect. What a noise. Honestly, it sounds proper. Like it's just come off a drag strip somewhere. What a noise. The cacophony is only broken by the rattling of the window. It's not a natural track car. Let's put it that way. But it does gain. Oh, no ABS. This is brilliant. So in summary, is there such a thing as the off-roader that can also be a sports car? To an extent, yes. Just manage your expectations. And I think that's as true in a compact SUV as it is in an off-road cross-country rally car.
So if you've enjoyed this twin test, don't forget we are here every single week with news, reviews, motor shows, drag races and more. So join us here or at autocar.co.uk.